Everyone loves how physical and emotional the Detroit Pistons are, but is there a chance that an opposing team could take advantage of that in the playoffs? We'll break it down in today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years, been a credential media member over the last 3 years. I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. That's what FanDuel, play your game. Later on, I want to discuss, can the Detroit Pistons survive with both Jalen, Duren, and Ausar Stewart suspended for however long they're going to be suspended for? We'll get briefly into what I think the length of those suspensions are for both players, what that could look like coming up. But do we think the Pistons have what it takes, have enough depth at that position to survive if those guys miss quite a bit of games? And then also I want to talk about the Pistons are scaling back Ausar Thompson offensively. I've talked with some people. I want to talk about whether that's the right decision to do and why they're doing it. But first, I want to start off with something I saw. I know those of you guys watching on YouTube are going to be like, cool, you got glasses? Yeah, I like to see. My wife eventually got me into getting myself glasses. I've needed glasses since I was in high school. I just never wanted them. But my wife got me to go and finally get myself glasses. So here we are. I was scrolling social media today. Man, I said social media. Glasses, saying social media. I'm acting like I'm 40 years old. I was scrolling Twitter today. My goodness. And I saw what 97.1 Mike Valenti had to say about the whole fight, whatever you want to call it. I saw some people were upset that people were calling it a brawl. Whatever you want to call it, it was fun. It was funny. If people just watching it, it was funny. I laughed all night. Like, it was funny just seeing all the new little angles and reactions from different people involved. But the fight that happened, I'm just going to call it that, during the Pistons game with the Hornets, and a lot of the people, including myself, just had fun with it. I thought a lot of people enjoyed watching it. A lot of people thought it was entertaining. The Pistons won as well, so it was like, and everyone was just laughing. A lot of like the memes that came up about it, people being scared of Ausar Stewart when he came running on the floor. So most people I saw kind of had fun with it because it was in the moment. As it went on, obviously today, you see more people talking about the serious nature of it and how that could hurt the Pistons if, how long Stu gets suspended, which we'll talk about coming up. But Mike Valenti had a pretty strong take, and I usually don't react to what 97.1 says, but what they echoed and what he said is something I've seen a lot of people actually mention. It wasn't like it was a hot take. It wasn't something that he just pulled out of thin air. It's something that a lot of people have been saying, and he was basically talking about how everyone's going to laugh and kiki about it now, but in the playoffs, when this ends up losing them a playoff game, or they end up losing a guy for a game or two, or teams take advantage of it in the playoffs, it's not going to be all funny and kiki and then either. Like, you gotta wane it back in a little bit, and, kind of be in control of your emotions. So I wanted to talk about, is there a chance that a team could bait Detroit? I think you have to say, yes, there's a chance of it, because the Pistons are a very emotional, a very physical basketball team. And Ausar Stewart, while I absolutely love Stu, he's not Draymond, to where, like, Draymond more often than not is just being a scumbag for no reason. Like, a lot of times he just starts things. Like, Stu, for most of the situations he finds himself in. Now, there was one situation with Giannis where he pulled his jersey while he was in midair. I really didn't like that. As someone who played basketball his whole life, when someone's in midair, you don't do stuff like that. So I didn't like seeing that. But outside of that one incident, I really can't think of an incident where Stu starts it himself. Like the whole LeBron thing, he got punched in the face and he's gushing blood. I would have spazzed out too. This one, he sees his boy getting, sneak shot by Miles Bridges, and he comes to his defense. Now, should he have left the bench? As a mature adult hosting a podcast, as a professional, I have to say no. It reminds me of the movie The Incredibles at the beginning, where the Incredible, Mr. Incredible, he's talking to his boss, and he's like, he works for that insurance agency, and he's like telling his boss, am I supposed to not help people get better with their insurance, whatever? And his boss is like, I'm required to say no. Like, he's hinting that, yeah, you're not supposed to. But he's like, I'm required. I have to say no here. That's how I'm saying this here with Stu. Like, should he have left the bench? I'm required to say no. But I understand why he did. And that's just who Stu is. But the reason why I bring up Draymond is Draymond, people always talk about he's walking this line. We've seen him get suspended in the finals, and we've seen him, get suspended at other times that hurt the Warriors. I don't think Stu's on that level where Stu's like a loose cannon that at any moment could just go off and do something out of pocket and just lose and lose his team games. I don't think he's like that. I don't think Stu has done anything to make you think that he's just walking out on the court to screw his team over. Like, Draymond does that. I don't think Stu does it. Stu just reacts to things. But that's where you come into the whole, could teams bait Detroit? And I think we would all be lying to say that's not at least a possibility that could happen. Like, I don't agree with how 97-1 and Vincennes said it and how aggressive and how, like, some of the tones it felt like it was being said with, I didn't like. But the overall idea of, they need to get control of this because this is something that other teams will try to take advantage of and bait them into, I do think is a fair thing to talk about. Because it's very, like, the Pistons, with how physical they are and how emotional they are, especially with Stu. I mean, we've seen it happen last year with the Pacers. And one of the matchups, I think it was the last matchup they played, we saw this was like they really disliked each other. And I came on the podcast after one of the games. It was clear from opening tip-off, the Pacers' idea was, we're going to get in their heads, we're going to get emotional with them, we're going to talk a lot of trash, and it's going to get them out the game. And we saw it, like, in the first half, immediately, the Pistons weren't even focused on basketball in that game. They immediately minds were somewhere else. Guys got ejected, and the Pistons lose to a team that they had been talking a lot of trash to. So, it's something that they should get under control. It is something they need to be able to ignore and counter and not allow an opposing team to just simply talk trash and that be like, oh, you set me off, now I'm ready. That is something they need to get under control. Until, my stance, I guess I would say, is until we actually see something like that happen in the playoffs, I'm not going to assume that Stu would do something like that, or like Duren or anybody. Like, I don't think, until I see it actually happening in a meaningful game, I'm not going to think it's going to happen. And like I said earlier, Stu hasn't been a player that goes onto the court and just randomly starts trying to fight people. It's not, he usually really isn't the one who starts things. He just reacts to someone else doing something, which, again, that is why you may think people could bait them. You just have to hope that Stu is mature enough, that JB Bickerstaff is making it clear enough in practices and making it clear ahead of playoff games or series, whatever, that, hey, this is going to be a physical series. They're going to try to get in your head. We need to try to win. We need to win basketball games. We can't let them do that, and we really need you on the basketball floor. Now, we'll see how long Stu gets suspended, but if you're an opposing team, you're 100% walking into game plan saying, hey, maybe we walk the line a little bit, talk a little trash. Every now and then maybe hit them with a little elbow when people don't see. Like, be a little physical, try to throw a few cheap shots where maybe people don't notice, and see if you can get them wild up. See if you can get them ready to do something that will get them suspended. Maybe something that will get them ejected from a game. Try to get them riled up and see if that works. I'm 100% certain other teams are doing that, for sure. But last year in the playoffs, the Pistons kept it pretty cool. They handled themselves nicely. Now, Stu wasn't there for the entire series, but outside of Stu, a lot of the core is still here. They handled themselves nicely. I think it's a fair concern to bring up, but until I actually see it happen in the playoffs, I don't think it's not one of my biggest concerns with this team. Like, I'm far more concerned about half-court shot creation or their three-point shooting or, like, offensive strategy. Like that, I'm far more concerned about that. It's way, way down the line before I get to, man, but what if someone talks trash and they just lose it? Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and I don't think it's reached the point where you need to be too crazy about it. But, I mean, I think it is. I don't think it's unfair to bring up. And I'm sure JB knows this. I'm sure JB is aware enough to know this is something he has to drill with his team, especially when the playoffs roll around. So we'll see how it happens or what happens in these playoffs. We didn't see nothing happen last playoffs. not saying that things won't get physical, not saying that guys won't get tangled up. We won't see like refs separate the teams. Maybe guys get teed up in the playoffs. Like stuff like that may happen. But I can't. I don't believe that any of the Piston players would purposely do something to make them lose a series like Draymond does. I haven't seen any of them be that kind of loose cannon. None of them are just like. You're going to be honest. What I'm trying to say is I don't think any of them are dirty. Like Draymond from Michigan State, I'm sure a lot of you guys love him. Look, Draymond's flat out dirty at times. He acts like a scumbag at times, and he just does things to purposely like get ejected. He does things that just that people who watch the games are just like, why are you doing this? Like that right there. If that was on the team, then I'd be like, yeah, they need to be worried about this. Stu is physical. He is ready to fight. He's not going to back down from a fight. But I don't think of Stu as a loose cannon like Draymond. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys think. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Do you guys think teams will try to bait the Pistons into these kind of situations? And do you think someone like Stu could potentially hurt them in a playoff series by costing them a game or two and getting suspended? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Coming up, can the Pistons survive without Stu and or Duren? I want to talk about how long I think these suspensions will be, and then also will they survive if it's a lengthy suspension? We'll break it down coming up. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business moving forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by choosing and boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through all the mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Now I gotta tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, one of my favorites, Game Time. I'm a procrastinator. I wait till the last second with everything when it comes to buying tickets. Oftentimes screws me over, except when I use Game Time. There's nothing like being in the NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. For someone like myself, who I just said is a procrastinator, I wait till the last second. Most places, I get bad seats, I get bad prices, but with Game Time, you have last-minute deals, again, all the way up until the last minute, and sometimes even after the event has already started, you still get really good deals, and you get really good prices. And another thing is, you get to see the view from your seat all within the app. So not only do you still get good prices if you wait to the last second, you also can make sure it's the seat that you want and a good seat for you whenever you're buying tickets. And it saved me on numerous occasions when I'm looking to get some NBA tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Again, you can use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. I also, again, want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. And part of one of the perks you're getting with this now is if you want to check it out, you can check out our new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free Locked On Pistons feed compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app, which means you'll be able to listen to Locked On Pistons without all the ads now. You just get one clean sweep of a listen. Don't have to worry about all the ads. You also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for Locked On Pistons listeners, where you can chat during a game, after games. You can talk about what you're thinking, see what other community members are talking. You guys can just hang out together in there. So if you want to check out the Everydayer Club, you can head over to LockedOnPodcast.com/ Everydayer Club, and you can sign up, or you can just click the link down in the description below. Let's go ahead and get into, can the Detroit Pistons survive without Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren? So I waited. I'm recording this around 9 o'clock. I waited all day until to find out, are they going to get suspended? What's the length? Because I didn't want to record the podcast and then it come out after. I'm like, man, I shouldn't even record the podcast. But, I mean, we've reached this point now, and I'm like, okay, there's no way suspensions are going to come out at like 10 o'clock. So as of this recording, if it happens to happen where they announce the suspensions at like 10:30 or 11, it is what I waited as long as possible. But as of right now, they have not announced any suspensions. My expectation is, I think Jalen Duren probably will get 1 to 2 games. I don't think he'll get more than that. He did throw a few punches. He didn't connect with any, it didn't seem to me. And they were mostly retaliating punches, and he was backing up most of the time. If there was one person who was kind of like de-escalating things and wasn't trying to have things go further, it was Duren. So I'd be shocked if he got any crazy punishment. He's definitely going to get suspended. He threw a few punches, but it didn't seem like he was the aggressor. It didn't seem like he was trying to escalate everything. Like, he was backing up and everyone kept coming after him. So I think he maybe gets 1 to 2 games. So can they survive 1 to 2 games without Duren? For sure. I'll go ahead and answer that one now. They can survive 1 to 2 games without Duren. Can they survive a few games without Duren and Stu, and then after Duren comes back, without Stu as well? Because I think Stu's probably going to get a lengthy suspension. Now, I hope I am wrong. I am hoping I am wrong, and I am not saying this is what I would do. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say I'm against Stu. I love Stu. I had a lot of fun with what he did yesterday. So I'm not anything, trying to go at Stu at all. But just based off how the NBA reacts to these things, and based off this very specific point of he left the bench, if Stu was on the court and did everything he did, I'd say he gets maybe three games, maybe 4. I something like that. I could see it, because that's what I think Bridges might get. I think that's probably what Diabate will get, because they were on the court. The NBA is very, very, very strict about the fact you cannot leave the bench. And they've suspended guys for a game. As soon as you leave the bench, you get suspended. Guys who just simply stand up and walk to midcourt have gotten suspended. Guys who simply get off the bench and got noticed wandering off the bench over on their side have gotten suspended. Stu didn't just get up and leave the bench. He got up the bench, aggressively pursued Bridges, threw punches, wrapped him up, escalated everything. Now, look, I thought it was hilarious to watch, but that is what happened. He did escalate the situation. I understand why he did, but he did escalate it. He was very aggressive with it. He threw some punches, and he did all that while leaving the bench, was already as a cardinal rule. And he has some past incidents with the league. He's been suspended multiple times before. He's had a few run-ins with the league when it comes to these kind of situations. Not this one in particular, I guess, even though LeBron was kind of, similar. So he has, he's been a repeat offender, what they call it. I don't like saying that because it makes it seem deeper than it is, but he was a repeat offender with the NBA in these kind of situations. He came off the bench. He was an aggressor. He did escalate things. And I part of me does believe they'll look at the fact that he wasn't very remorseful at all about it. Like the fact that he was walking to the locker room and was like, yeah, what do you think they drafted me to Detroit for? Not to do nothing? Like, this is what I was here for. Like, look, we love it. I thought it was hilarious. But I think the league will look at all of that and levy out a pretty hefty suspension. The rule about coming out the bench came about, if I'm correct here, I believe I am, like 99% sure I'm correct here, because of the malice at the palace, because guys left the bench and all the things that happened. So ever since then, they have been very strict. You do not leave the bench. So the fact that a Detroit Piston left the bench made things, quote-unquote, worse, threw punches, escalated it. I think that's probably going to serve a pretty hefty suspension. So I could, like Bobby Marks said, 10 games on ESPN today. I could see it. I hope that's not the case. I hope they don't give him 10 games. But if they gave him 10 games, I would not be shocked at all. Like, I think he's probably going to get a hefty suspension here. So can they survive without Stu for a lengthy time, and however many games they miss Stu and Duren? Short answer I have, yes. Paul Reed has been utterly fantastic. Like, there is no, I don't know how to put into words just how good he has been for the Pistons. I mean, like, I think the biggest compliment I've given him all year, like, I've said it like probably 1,000 times, it's my best way of complimenting him. And it's, I don't know how he got back, the Pistons got him back to be the third center. Like, that's the best compliment I can give him. Because this guy is good enough to be backups on almost every team in the league. That's the biggest compliment I can give him. And the team this year is 7.1 points better with him on the floor. There's a lot of people who believe he should just be naturally part of the rotation. Like, that's how good he has been. He's been very, very good. So there's no reason to believe that Paul Reed, in extended minutes in a starting role, is not going to do what we've already seen. Like, earlier in the year, he got a starting opportunity because guys were out, and he had like a Nikola Jokic type of game. Like, the dude had an utterly insane game that if you're not a Pistons fan, you're probably sitting there watching it like, dude, who is this? Like, what happened here? So the Pistons are uniquely equipped that, hey, if they have to play and deal without one of their big guys, or even both of their big guys, other teams might be screwed. Pistons are in a good position because they got Paul Reed. I have to find this game he started in, bro. We have to find it, bro. Is it the Chicago game? I think it's the Chicago game, man. One of the games he started earlier in the year, 28 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Like, anytime this dude plays any kind of minutes, he just delivers, man. He just delivers. He started the next game against Philly. 10 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. All of that in just 25 minutes of action, 5 of 9 from the floor. He's so good. The defensive rating with him on the floor is 105.4. Like, I can throw all these numbers at you over and over again. He's really, really good. So I think the Pistons will be fine. You'd rather not have to miss both these guys. You'd rather not these guys get suspended. Obviously, you'd rather have them here. But if they have to miss time, they'll be all right. Because they got Paul Reed. And Paul Reed's fantastic. His per 36 numbers this year, by the way, 17 points a game, 12.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 2.5 steals, 1.7 blocks. I mean, every time he touches the floor, he's just creating havoc. His blitzing of the pick and rolls is just some of the most fun things to watch. The Pistons go all game without blitzing, and then they put Paul Reed in, and for his 5 minutes, he's just harassing ball handlers, blitzing every screen, forcing turnovers. He's incredibly active on the defensive end of the floor. He's incredibly active at the rim. He is very confident in his offensive skill, and he has skill to him. Like, he can shoot a little bit. He can dribble a little bit. He can pass a little bit. He has hops. He's able to dunk on people. He's able to finish at the rim. He has nice footwork. Like, Paul Reed is legitimately a pretty good pretty good NBA player, I should say. So, them missing time, they'll be fine. Because Paul Reed might go out there and average a double-double with 3 steals, 3 blocks, and 5 assists in the games that he has to play. Like, I say it jokingly a little bit, but if it were to happen, would any of us be shocked? No. I don't think so. So, we'll wait to see how long until, or how long the suspensions are, excuse me. But even if they are lengthy suspensions, it's tough to deal with them. Tough that it has to happen. But the Pistons got Paul Reed. They'll be all right. Paul Reed's really good. Coming up, the Pistons have scaled back Ausar Thompson. Is that good? Is that bad? Why are they doing it? What's the outlook moving forward? Talk to some people. I want to talk about it with you guys now. Coming up. The Winter Games are officially here. If you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. That's with FanDuel. Play your game. Check it out today. Winter Olympics are on. They're not going to be around forever. Take advantage of it with FanDuel today and play your game. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Ausar Thompson has been very much scaled back for the Detroit Pistons recently. He has been very much scaled back. And what scaled back means is he's had his role very much simplified on offense and not being asked to do much, and his responsibility on offense has really dwindled a ton over the last, I'd say, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. That's completely different from what we were told before the season. Before the season, we were told that he was going to have the ball in his hands a lot. We were told that they were going to put the ball in his hands to create for others, run pick and rolls, utilize his passing. That's what we were told we were going to see at the beginning, before the season started. And we did see it at the beginning of the year. I always reference these first 10 games before he got hurt. He got hurt very early in the year, missed 2 games. But then in that time, everyone returned. He came back and everyone was healthy. Ivy, Karras, Tobias, everyone came back healthy. And ever since then, his usage has really dropped. And it's dropped a lot over the last few weeks. But first 10 games of the year, when they were putting the ball in his hands quite a bit, he was averaging 14 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He was playing around 30 minutes a game. He was only turning the ball over 1.4 times a game. And he had a free throw rate, we talked about this a lot, a free throw rate of 34%. And on his drives, he was drawing a free throw, it felt like every single time he drove to the rim. Now, he obviously wasn't shooting well on free throws. That was limiting the efficiency and not allowing you to see this big jump in scoring. But the process was good. The process you were seeing, he was getting to the rim. He was drawing fouls. He wasn't turning the ball over with his handle. The process was okay, if he can start hitting his free throws at even an average, 60%, the efficiency's going up, and we're talking about 15 points a game while with his defense. Everyone, it felt was really happy with where that looked like it was going. But since then, it's really fallen off. I'm not going to do every single game. I want to focus on just the last few weeks because that's what I really talked about. Let's do the last... I don't know. Let's just go back to the end of January. Let's do the last 15 games, actually. Last 15 games. That's a decent enough sample size here. Last 15 games, he's now down to 8.1 points a game. He's only playing 24 minutes a game. A free throw rate of 26% went way down. And he's nowhere near being asked to do much of anything. He's been roaming the baseline. He's been mostly spotted up in the corner for the majority for the game. The Pistons have scaled him down a ton. And what's the reason for this? Why are they doing this? Why is this good for the team? Is this good for Ausar? Is this the right thing to do? All this stuff. I talked with some people. I wanted to get some insight into why this is happening. And the basic answer here is, if the Pistons were 6th seed in the East, you probably would see Ausar with the ball in his hands more because they'd be willing to take some losses. They'd be willing to see some of the ups and downs that comes with it. They'll be willing to deal with this some more. And the team is still, from my understanding, very high in what they believe he could become offensively, and they expect him to be pretty involved next season. And they think another offseason would do great. I also have been told that they expect him to, they don't want him really taking that many threes this year. You haven't seen it, but next year they have a plan for him to take quite 2 to 3 threes a game. They want him to shoot next year as part of his shooting progression, whatever this plan is they have with Fred Vincent. That's why I've been told that now is not the time they want him to shoot threes. It's the later part of their plan next year. So overall, my point is that I have been told that they're still very high on what they want from him offensively next year. The problem is that JB, or not this isn't a problem. It's just a reality. I shouldn't say the problem. It's just a reality of the situation. The Pistons are the first team in the East. They're playing great. They have a lot of guys that are performing well. You got Dennis, who showed up and has been playing really well. Obviously, you got Cade. You got Karras, who I think Karras is probably the biggest question mark in this whole equation. But Karras, that JB really likes. JB Bickerstaff loves Caris LeVert. He's going to give him the ball. He's going to play him a ton. So you got that. You got 3 guys there. You got Tobias. You got a lot of guys that JB Bickerstaff really trusts. He relies a lot on his veterans, and he's putting the ball in their hands. And instead of putting the ball in Ausar's hands and kind of dealing with some of the ups that we saw, some of the positives, but then also some maybe the missed layups at times that we saw earlier in the year. Like, it wasn't all ups. It was definitely some ups and downs. I'd say mostly ups, but it was some inconsistencies with the finishing at the rim. Instead of dealing with that, the Pistons are winning great, or are playing great. They're winning. And JB Bickerstaff's position is, he's arguably the best defender in the league. You know what we're going to want him to do? Ausar, we just want you to be the best defender on the floor every single night. We want you to be the best defender in the league. Focus all your energy over there. And next year, we'll revisit this. Next year, we'll revisit putting the ball in your hands a little more. Next year, with another year of development, another year of looking at things, then we'll put the ball in your hands a little bit more next year. But for now, we're playing really well. The team's playing super well. We got some other guys that I really like. I really like Karis LeVert. I really like Dennis. I like Tobias. I really love him. He's our safe. Like, we don't really need to try to test things with Ausar. That's the position from my understanding. And it's okay. We know that we can scale you down and we'll be effective because we saw it last year. We know last year we saw you operate in this dunker spot role, this just cutting role where you didn't really have the ball in your hands, and we still functioned well. We were able to win your minutes. We were able to be better offensively. We know you can do that. You know what? We don't really need to try to test this whole ball handler stuff. We don't really need to, see you get 10-plus shots up. We don't really even want you to do that. Just be a great defender. We still believe in you long-term. We believe in you next year. But right now, we're doing really great right now, and there's no need for us to start trying to test things. Like, that's the position the team has, and specifically JB Bickerstaff has, according to from what I understand. And I can't blame them for that at all. Like, obviously I'm a big Ausar guy. I believe heavily in his potential. I believe heavily in his development. I thought what we were seeing at the beginning of the year was fantastic. I thought he was doing exactly what I predicted him to do this year. Like, my preseason stat line for him was like I think it was 14, 6, and 4. And the beginning of the year, first 10 games, he was averaging 14, 6, and 3.5 or something. So that was like right where I wanted to do. And I was happy with what he was doing. So would I love to see it? Yeah, I think it would be better for him. I do think it would be better for the Pistons offense if you had him being aggressive, trying to get downhill and drawing fouls. Like, I think it's better for the offense when all 5 guys are being treated as threats and teams can't just act like, okay, well, he's just out of the game plan here. We don't have to really concern ourselves with him. I think that's better for the team. But I can't sit here and argue with a team that's first in the East and they're beating top-seeded teams in both conferences, and Ausar just won Defensive Player of the Month. So I can't sit here and say it's the wrong idea. I can't say that JB is wrong for doing this. And Dennis has been great. So, like, I can't sit here and say this is wrong to try to win, like, for the position of the team now. I would like to see him have the ball in his hands as an Ausar fan and someone who believes in him. But, like, I don't think it's wrong. I can't say that necessarily is wrong. My one concern is I'm going to bring up, that I'm interested to see, is that if this is how they want, if this is what they're going to do, and it seems like this is what they, seems like JB is pretty confident and set in that this is what they're going to do with him. If that's the case, you better have some really good strategy being drawn up for what you're going to do in the playoffs then. Because part of the whole idea behind having Ausar develop as this ball handler and this driver to the rim and drawing fouls and all that stuff was that, okay, when playoffs come around, you're not playing with someone who's a non-factor offensively. This isn't a guy that teams can just ignore offensively, because if they ignore him, he's getting downhill, he's getting to the basket, he's kicking out, or he's drawing free throws. Like, he's doing something offensively. You can't just not guard him. If this is how they want to play him instead, which again I'm not saying is wrong right now, but if this is how they want to play him, where he's just in the corner most of the time, not really being involved in screens, like we've seen him do it in Houston, but they don't do it consistently ever, really. If that's what JB wants to do, I hope they really have something drawn up for the playoffs, because I feel like if that's what they're doing, then when the playoffs roll around, I can see the conversation of, well, if you're just going to spot Ausar up in the corner and they're just going to put the big on him, you're not going to put him in screening action, and you're not going to put the ball in his hands in the short roll or as a driver, then why even have him on the floor? You're being guarded 5-on-4. And then that will lead to what we saw last year against the Knicks in Game 6, where JB says the answer to that isn't put the ball in his hands. The answer to that isn't put him in screening actions. The answer to it isn't DHOs with him as the guy with the ball in his hands, handing it off to Cade or whatever. What the answer to that was last year for JB was, we'll just take him out the game. And that cost him game 6. So that's my one concern. I think JB is, I can't sit here and say JB's wrong with scaling him back the last few weeks, last month or so. It led to Ausar being defensive player of the month. The team's been winning. The team's offense has been fine. Like, I can't sit here and say they're doing the wrong thing. My one concern is, and if I was told that the Pistons were like, yeah, we don't know, they're not as high as they once were on him long-term offensively. From my understanding, they are just as high still. They just know that JB is like, hey, we're winning right now. Let me trust my guys. We need to win right now. We can come back to this in the offseason next year. If that's the case, that's fine. If that's true, well, I'm understanding. Like, it is what it is. It's just my one concern is once the playoffs roll around, if that's all you've done to end the season, you haven't tested like, hey, what are we going to do when teams do this? What are we going to do when teams do that? What's our counters to that? I fear we may come into a situation where, again, we saw what happened in Game 6 where the answer from JB is simply just take him off the floor. And you can't do that. You can't take one of your most impactful players. I think their second most, maybe third most impactful player just off the floor. I don't think that can't be the answer. So if this is what they're going to do, I just hope they have discussed what the counters are going to be. Because if you do play them like this, teams will put their center on them, and they will just sag off them. They will just help. You could counter it. I've been saying it forever, and we saw it in the Houston game. They did it. They haven't done it much since, but they did it in the Houston game. You just make him the screening guy. It forces the big to come out on the perimeter, forces the big to guard farther away from the basket, and then it gets Ausar in the short roll. He can feed it to Duren in the dunker spot. He can kick out or he can finish. It was really hurting the Rockets. So, like, you can do that. That's the easy counter, but we haven't seen it a lot. I just hope that they have those counters when the playoffs are around. That's all I'm going to say. So, a little disappointed that we're not seeing, like, the breakout offensive year. And a lot of that, I don't want to make it seem like that. None of it's on Ausar. Like, Ausar hasn't improved as much as I'd liked him to see, as I would have liked to see him improve offensively this year. I do think the handle's better, but it hasn't been a big, crazy jump offensively from him. It hasn't been what I expected. So it is tough to, from a Ausar fan's perspective, that they're kind of just moving away from it this year. But overall, from the Pistons' perspective, it's not a big deal as long as they have counters in the playoffs for how teams will guard it. So let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter at Khahil, how you guys feel about this, and do you guys agree with the idea of scaling Ausar down and revisiting, increasing his role next year, or do you think this is a mistake? Let me know what you guys think. Comment section down below, or over on Twitter at Khahil. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.